Let's roll, baby. Welcome in. It is the Week 3 Ringers Sunday pregame with the Wise Guys, of course, here on YouTube TV and on FanDuel TV. Let's bring in the fellas, shall we? John Jastremski alongside Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer. We are fired up for the Week 3 card. Loaded slate at 1 o'clock and at 4 o'clock. Raheem, I'm starting with you. A lot of 0-2 teams. I think there's some 0-2 teams we should actually be looking to play. Are you with me?
Yes, definitely. There's 9 0-2 teams: Giants, Broncos, Panthers, Rams, Jaguars, Colts, Titans, Ravens, and Bengals. And if you look at the last 10 years, 0-2 teams are 48 and 32, 60% against the spread. So you definitely want to back some 0-2 teams today in Week 3.
Well, House, I'm just glad that you've made it. You weren't at the casino with Mr. Abrams. Everything's okay. I didn't have to put out the all points bulletin trying to find you before the start of the show.
Well, I invited CJ. I managed to get back here just in time, but I invited CJ to come join us. He's available. They sent him down to the minor leagues, but he spent all that time in the casino. I think his research is probably pretty good today.
I guess we'll have to find out. And Sal, I'm in New York City. The Met Jet fans in my life are like delirious. You root for one of those two teams. It seems a little off, right? That there's too much giddiness with the Met fan and the Jet fan at this moment.
You living out there, JJ, you might want to invest in a pair of earmuffs because it is about to get loud and crazy with these delusional Jets, and I could speak for myself with the Mets fans here. I know we're going to put Lindor back in the lineup, and he's going to bat 140 with that bad back, but for now it's good. And by the way, last week I was near perfect on this show, and I want to keep it going. Talk about delusional, that I could keep this going. Forget about it.
Well, hopefully we have a couple of winners coming your way. We got a lot coming up on the Ringer Sunday pregame show. We'll have Bill Simmons later on in the show. He's fired up to join us. We'll have a couple of guest picks. We'll sniff out those rat lines that are always stinky and always a little bit fishy. But we need to get hot as a group. I want 4 for 4 this week. No excuses. It's now time for us to wise it up. And because of the fact, Cousin Sal, you won last week. I'll give you credit. You won by the hair on your chinny chin chin with the Washington Commanders. I will let you kick it off. Week 3, your wisest wager, what would it be?
Very unlucky with the Titans week 1. Very, very lucky with Washington week 2. They say it evens out. I like to complain about the losses more than I like to, cast aside the wins. But, all right, let's do the Lions -3 over Arizona. JJ, Kyler Murray had us played last week, right? They had lost to Buffalo. He goes out there. Marvin Harrison Jr. was virtually invisible. And he's like, hey, it's not my job to get him the ball, which I disagree with. I feel like it is his job as quarterback. But anyway, they disregarded Marvin Harrison, and he put up 2 scores before most of those afternoon games even started. They rout the Rams, but I think this is a different story. The Rams don't have the defense that the Lions project. Aiden Hutchinson, 4.5 sacks last week, gets it done. Carlton Davis on that defensive side. Kyler's not going to be able to run free. Also, I'm banking on this trend here. 8-0 the Lions are straight up and against the spread after a loss. Dan Campbell himself is 17-9 against the spread after a loss. I really like this team. They're going to be good against the bottom 10 defense, and that's what the Cardinals are. Lions put up north of 30 points and cover the 3-point spread against the Cardinals.
I think this is a great buy low spot for Detroit. I didn't get involved with this game, at least for a wisest wager. Number 1, because Sal took it from me. Number 2, I don't want to go against my guy Kyler, who's been so good to me the first 2 weeks of the year. But Sal, I'm rooting for you. Let's bring it home. Let's get you to 2-1. Now, Raheem, rumor has it, your wisest wager is really going against your heart. So please, sir, enlighten me.
Look, we spoke earlier about 0-2 teams. I'm actually an 0-2 team right now, so I need a Daniel Dubois-like resurgence. You saw he knocked out Anthony Joshua yesterday. I'm hoping to be able to do the same by picking an 0-2 team. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens on the money line. I'm expecting a Marlo Stanfield-like performance out of the Baltimore Ravens today. You look at Lamar Jackson against NFC teams, he is 20-1 straight up, and he's taking on a Dallas Cowboys team, which has really been struggling to stop the run. You're talking about 31st in defensive DVOA against the run, dead last in rushing success rate, and 30th in rushing EPA. So they're not going to be able to slow down Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, who are a top 5 rushing offense. If you go back to last year, you look at a lot of the games that they lost, games against the Saints, they gave up 190 yards. Against the Bills, 266 yards. Against the Cardinals, 222 yards. Against the 49ers, 170. Against the Packers, 143. So I expect the Ravens to be able to find some success on the ground. And you look at this Cowboys team, I don't like the way they're being priced here. They're being priced as a team who is a complete juggernaut, but they are 3-4 straight up in their last 7 games and 1-4 straight up against the spread in their last 5 home games. So I like the Baltimore Ravens here. Cowboys don't have a lot of weapons outside of CD Lamb. I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to get it done today and hopefully get me off the snide so I'm not 0-2 anymore.
Boo. Worst Cowboys fan around. The worst.
Sorry, Sal. I'm with our guy Raheem on this one. I'm rooting for your wisest wager in Detroit. Raheem, I'm pulling with you with Baltimore. Now, House, you're trying to get off the schneid as well. I want to give you credit. You hit your SGP last week, which paid out very, very nicely. But now we need to get you on the board with the wise wager. And you're going with a prime time total. Please share.
You know, we're just trying to catch a winner. I mean, you mentioned my 4-leg SGP that hit last week, plus 650 on it. Here's the scary thing for the fellas and for all the viewers out there. I love all of our wise wagers this week, and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to parlay all 4 of them. I love what Cousin Sal has laid out here with the Lions, the dream on the money line. I'm looking at this Chiefs-Falcons game. The total's 46.5, and we're just walking right into an area of opportunity. Now, primetime unders 60%. You'll get all the great trends with Kirk Cousins as well. But what I'm looking at, going a little bit inside the X's and O's, this is a tale of 2 offenses that are just trying to do enough. So when you get into the numbers with the Chiefs, it's kind of a version of what we saw last year, but amplified a little bit. They are still playing dink and dunk football on offense. If you look at Patrick Mahomes, he's getting rid of the ball faster through these first 2 games than at any point in his career. And this is a intended air yards per attempt. Yes, that's a thing. He's second shortest, fewest in the league. Now, that has a lot to do with the fact that it seems the Chiefs haven't yet settled on their pass protection. They don't trust their pass protection yet. This injury to Isaiah Pacheco does not help them in terms of this scoring points thing. So I think they're just going to play ball control. They averaged 39 points on the road last year, the games between the Chiefs and their road opponents. And I like very much the idea of them trying to do this ball control thing. The Falcons defense, good against the run, so I don't think we're going to see a ton of Carson Steele. On the other side, notwithstanding the last drive that Vic Mensa Fangio enabled with the Falcons against the Eagles, I still think that Kirk Cousins is working his way back into recovery. So I think this is going to be a heavy dose of Bijan Robinson today. And that fits the weakness, the vulnerability of this very, very, very good Chiefs defense. Run success rate wise, they are at the bottom of the league. And I think Raheem Morris just wants to protect Kirk Cousins. If they have the ball, then Patrick Mahomes doesn't have the ball. So I love the under today. Under 46.5, Chiefs and Falcons in this primetime game.
Love me a primetime under. Now, gentlemen, I like all 3 of these plays, but there is one certain panelist who is undefeated so far when it comes to his wise wager, and you're looking at him. So for week 3, you know what I can't wait to do? I'm taking an 0-2 team as well. Give me the Tennessee Titans laying the 3 against Malik Willis and the Green Bay Packers. Last week, Malik Willis had his moment. The Packers were an underdog. They beat the Indianapolis Colts, who don't play a lick of defense. Here's what I know about Tennessee. Incredibly unlucky in their first 2 games. Dominated the game against the Chicago Bears. Will Levis flushed it down the toilet. Week 2, they're up on the New York Jets. Will Levis with a key turnover. If he can take care of the football, there's nothing to worry about in this game. The front 7 for Tennessee is going to dominate the line of scrimmage. This line is working in my favor. It was 2.5 basically all week. Now you've seen it at -3. The Packers got their win with Willis. They're getting all excited. Jordan Love is on the mend. He's not playing on Sunday, and there will not be a revenge spot for Malik Willis. Give me the Titans. They get their first win of the year. They will not be 0-3 heading to South Florida. So, Sal, Tennessee, -3 into SGP from my pal. That is very near and dear to your heart. And unlike Raheem, you kind of have a different way of looking at Ravens.
Yeah, we could both potentially win here. You know, Raheem, Cowboys fan, hating on the Cowboys every week. That's fine. But FanDuel approaches me and says, hey, could you do an SGP for the Cowboys-Ravens? I said, yeah, but what am I going to do? I'm going to put all Ravens on it? No, I'm a homer. I'm not going to put Zay Flowers to do this and that positively. So we're going Cowboys plus 4.5. Listen, I don't think they're going to get blown out for a third straight time at home. I just have a tiny bit of faith in Mike McCarthy, even though this game probably means more to the Ravens than the Cowboys. So I'm adjusted that to plus 4.5. Over 44.5 adjusted total points. They hit over this number in 6 of the last 8 boys games against bottom 10 defenses. We're adjusting, so it should be easier to get there. An explosive play. Remember those guys? I got Brandon Cooks, 20-plus yards, at least on one play. He's come close a couple times early on. He'll get there today. And then, House, we're going to stir some soup. I don't know what you want, minestrone. What do you want, clam chowder? Whatever we want here. Zeke to get over 45.5 rushing, receiving combined. Pays, what does this pay? $5.92? My goodness. Here we go. Cash that SGP.
Okay, Raheem, outside of Cowboys plus 4.5, your thoughts here. Can we hit this? Can we middle it?
I love you, Sal, but you're betting on Ezekiel Elliott.
That's
Come
right.
on. What year is it? It's 2024. It's not 2016 anymore. Like, what are we doing here? Is this wishful thinking?
The 2024 Ravens suck. I got news for you. 0-2 if we're going to go by that.
And let's be real about this game, House. This is the sort of telltale sign to me with Baltimore. Everything should point to them bouncing back in this spot. If they don't, this is where a season for John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson in many ways could go completely off the rails.
Maybe. I mean, part of the thing that's going to be hard for us all season long, the NFL season with 18 weeks and 17 games is now a marathon. And I feel like each team, we get kind of 3 versions of a team over the course of the season. And whichever team over the last 6 games, 5 games into the playoffs is healthiest, that's where you really see some opportunity. So I'm not ready to call it a wrap for the Ravens if they don't come out and handle their business today. Although, numbers wise, 0-3 teams, it doesn't happen very often that they make the playoffs.
Oh, the statistics. I don't care. 16 or 17 game season. Very, very tough to dig yourself out of that 0-3 hole. And 2 surprise 0-2s without question. Baltimore taking on the Cowboys. Cincinnati taking on your C-words Monday night. We'll get to that. We'll get to some rat lines. But new customers with FanDuel. FanDuel's got you game day covered. You bet $5 and get 200 in bonus bets guaranteed. And all customers who bet $5 get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Watch every out-of-market Sunday afternoon game with NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube, or get even more NFL when you bundle with YouTube TV to get local and national games on 100+ live TV channels. Download and visit the FanDuel app today. Terms and embargoes apply. Well, guys, it's time. Let's get made. There are so many stinky rat lines in week 3. It's really tough to find just one. Raheem, I had about 5 or 6 on my list. What is the stinkiest of all the rat lines here for this Sunday?
I'm going to go with the 49ers, Los Angeles Rams, plus 6.5. Now, if this line was at 7.5, I'd say go ahead, take the Rams. There's a lot of value. But this line in this game itself is basically an episode of General Hospital or ER, because both of these teams are completely decimated by injuries. You look at the 49ers, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. They're all out with injuries. And then if you go to the defensive side of the ball, Charvarius Ward, he could be missing this game as well as Nick Bosa. So, I mean, this team is just so injured that I don't know how you could lay points with the San Francisco 49ers, even if Kyle Shanahan has dominated Sean McVay. You look at the other side of the ball, we just saw the Rams lose 41-10 over the Cardinals because they were decimated by injuries on the offensive line. You got Cooper Kupp, he's hurt. You got Puka Nacua, he's hurt. You got so many injuries between these two teams that this line at 6.5, I don't know how you touch it. This is a rat, a complete stay away.
Totally agree, especially with that line. Sitting there at 6.5 seems so perfect to tease, so perfect to parlay. But after what I've seen from the Rams over the first 2 weeks and with all their injuries, I'm not going anywhere near it. Sal, Sunday, 1 o'clock, early window. You got a rat for us.
I mean, I agree with you and Raheem, except I don't see that there are 5 or 6 rat lines. I feel every week there's like 12 or 13. I barely have enough extra games to pick a wise wager and a dog and whatever we have to do for this program. But I did target one, Chargers Steelers 2.5. Now, a lot of it depended on if Justin Herbert was playing. It looks like he's going to give it a go. I'll tell you what, Raheem, on Guess the Lines, when I did it with Simmons Sunday night, I tried to pick the opening line for this. I took the coward's way out. I said, pick them. That's like a boxing judge, going 9-9. That's not acceptable. But I had to do it. I still might go pick them here because I don't understand. This is a game where I'm waiting for both teams to fail, and yet the winner of this game will probably be in line for winning Coach of the Year, right? Whether it's Harbaugh 3-0, that's the narrative, or Mike Tomlin, what's he doing with a quarterback who can't throw 5 yards in front of him? He's 3-0. So I'd just rather just stay away from this. I put this rat in a Primanti sandwich, toss it off into the trash, and say skip the Chargers and the Steelers this week.
House talking about tossing food.
No,
That's
I'm
never
sorry.
going to
No,
work for
never.
our pal.
No,
Never
there's a
going to work
rat.
for our buddy.
You understand there's a rat in the sandwich.
There is a rat. Sandwich between the bread. You don't want the
Right
rat.
out. Come on.
What I do want, though, House, is a rat from you. And rumor has it, it kind of has a theme to what was your wise wager from just a week ago.
Well, it's not that dissimilar from the cousin Sal, where the line, could have been, should have been, would have been near that pick'em space. I'm looking at this Saints-Eagles game where on the look ahead, the Eagles were -3, -2.5 until the debacle of Monday night with them throwing up all over themselves, that dumb coaching staff, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And the line, because everybody has seen this New Orleans Saint freight train. I mean, talk about Coach of the Year. You got to put Dennis Allen. Put some respect on Dennis Allen's name, cuz. Come on. The Saints are now favored by 2.5 points. It's a line move of, 5.5 to 6 points, depending on what you had for that Eagles look ahead. And it's just too much. Now, the reason I do think it sets up quite well for an Eagles play, but I can't in good conscience recommend that anybody play on the Eagles after we saw the end of that game last week, because that game showed us that there is apparently nobody inside the Eagles building who understands basic high school math. So it's a stay away from me.
Look, we may have some thoughts on the trendy New Orleans Saints and the Philadelphia Eagles a little bit later on in the show, but for my rat, you got to wait till Monday, and it's up in Western New York. The Buffalo Bills looked as impressive as anybody in smoking the Miami Dolphins. Jacksonville has looked terrible the first 2 games of the year. Choked the game away against Miami, stunk it up against Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns, and I fully expect that Buffalo is going to be a very trendy Monday night pick against Trevor Lawrence, against Doug Peterson, and against Jacksonville. All I'm going to tell you is that 4.5 for 5, this line reeks. This line stinks. I think Jacksonville is live in the game. I think Jacksonville can absolutely go and win the game, despite the fact that you don't feel great about taking Jacksonville at this particular moment. So, a lot of rats this week. This is the biggest of them all. You'll find it in Western New York. Maybe it's under the tables that they're smashing in the tailgates before the start of this game. Jacksonville, Buffalo, buyer beware. Raheem, SGP for you. You want to find SGPs with games that have a whole lot of points, a whole lot of yards. Haven't had that the first 2 weeks of the year. So what's a game that you think kind of fits that bill?
I'm going to go to the Chicago Bears taking on the Indianapolis Colts. And I think this could really be a breakout game for Caleb Williams. I know he struggled thus far, but you look at this Bears team. Who did they take on the first 2 weeks? They took on the Titans in week 1, 9th in defensive DVOA. They took on the Texans in week 2, 4th in defensive DVOA. So I think this is a step down in competition. For our same game parlay, we're going to go with the Bears money line. Caleb Williams over 213.5 passing yards. Cole Kmet 20.5 receiving yards. We take that over. And we're also going to take DJ Moore over 64.5 receiving yards. You look at this Colts defense, 30th in defensive DVOA, 29th against the pass, 30th against the run, and 27th in defensive EPA per play. And, Warren Sharp had probably one of the best stats when it comes to this Colts defense. 75% of downs against the Colts gain a new first down or a touchdown. That's 30th amongst NFL teams. And you look at the fact that they're missing DeForest Buckner. With him in the lineup, they're 24th in pressure rate. Last year when DeForest Buckner didn't play, they were 30th. So I don't think they're going to be able to get enough pressure. We know they can't stop the run. I think Caleb Williams is going to have a breakout day. He's going to throw some touchdowns. He's going to throw some yards, and the Bears are going to win this game.
I like the spot, Raheem. Sal, this, though, from a spread perspective, was like immediate stay away from me. Yeah. I think Raheem makes the compelling argument with Chicago. I just worry about that Bear offensive line. As bad as Indy's defense may be, can Caleb Williams actually have some time to throw the football? I think that's the only thing that might hold this thing back.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, Raheem gave us all the numbers on pressure rate, and you really have to believe in that if you think the Bears have a chance, that the Colts are not going to be able to pressure him because he was unprotected. It was like Deion Sanders put together that offensive line for the Bears. I mean, it's not dissimilar to what we saw with Colorado.
It's not that bad. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I watched that Colorado game, and I wanted to call CPS on Deion Sanders because I would not have my own son out there behind that offensive line. But, I got to make another point when it comes to the Bears. They have one of the best defenses in the league. So they should be able to win this game, even if Caleb Williams doesn't go off because, that Bears defense is absolutely for real. And we know Anthony Richardson, he's not a great quarterback at this point in time.
Very impressive second half from the Bear defense against Stroud and the Houston Texans. Now, we have a guest pick that is front and center on this particular Bears-Colts game. And our guy, Jomi, is a big-time USC Trojan fan. Sorry, Jomi. I bet Michigan, plus 4.5. Easy money. Made my Saturday afternoon that much better. But you are going to have a deep dive, and you're going to have a long shot for the Wise Guys. Please share.
Hey, guys. Jomi from the Ringerverse here. Today is such a big day for me, okay? I'm a USC fan and an Indianapolis fan, and the Colts and the Bears are facing off. But, guys, I do want the Colts to win. I really do. But I think Caleb Williams is going to have a big game, all right? The Colts defense can't stop a nosebleed, all right? And that's without the injuries, okay? I think Caleb is going to throw 3 tutties today. Take the over on Caleb's touchdown passes. All right, he's going to have a great one.
I love a deep dive long shot. And I got to be honest, House, I like this one. If the game script goes the way Raheem is kind of suggesting, Indy, bad defense, Caleb Williams, finally a chance to go and break out, maybe this is the week we finally get a big game from the rookie quarterback out of USC.
Well, it would be the first week that we get a big game from any quarterback other than Derek Carr because, passing touchdowns across the league are at historical lows. But look, I like Jomi's enthusiasm for this. And if Caleb Williams is going to have a breakout, it better be this week against this poverty Colts defense because the Bears schedule doesn't have a lot more of these kind of opportunities on it.
I like it, Jomi. I like the big swing. No, I like the big swing from these guest pickers. You might as well. What are you going to take, Caleb Williams over rushing yards or something, even odds? No, I hate the pick. Hate the pick. But take the big swing, Jomi. Go get it.
Should we make a new rule here for the guest pick where minimum, Raheem, they have to give a plus 150 or better? I almost think we have to do that from a player prop standpoint.
I think, you got to let people, have the freedom to go wherever they want. Some people hit singles, some people are Ichiro Suzuki, and then other people just have, the massive launch angle like, Aaron Judge or Bryce Harper. So just let these guys cook.
So no rules.
No rules.
Fair enough. Okay, I asked the Wise Guys, and I got my official verdict. Now, we have some comments. Of course, we're here on YouTube TV. You can interact with the show. This one comes from AJ House. He said, best bet, I gave you Raiders outright last week. That was a hell of a pull against the Baltimore Ravens. You know what he likes this week? My beloved Miami Dolphins with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. Bold. I hope he's 2 for 2, House.
Yeah, I'm not here to argue against that. I mean, I think the variance that comes along with Skylar, I think one of the wise guys might have a full handicap of that game, a full breakdown of it. But I certainly understand the instinct here to take advantage of two things. First of all, Seattle coming back cross country after an overtime game, Miami with a little extra time to prepare, and their rush attack could be prominent this week.
Something to think about. Sal, you see some value there with the Dolphins? A little under 2-1 underdog.
I do. I like them. Honestly, I know Skylar Thompson, you can laugh all you want, but he's got Tyreek Hill on his side, right? And he's got that running game that House talks about. And I also am waiting. I think Seattle's just a little overvalued at this point, and maybe not even that home field advantage that we remember them having for the last 20 years or so.
Well, and that's the thing. We're going to have a panelist a little bit later on in the show who may have some thoughts on the Dolphins and the Seahawks, but a lot of people talking about Miami flying to the West Coast. They have extra time to prepare and a lot of wear and tear on Seattle first 2 weeks. They put an overtime game in New England on Sunday. They barely beat the Denver Broncos. Yeah, I might sound like a delusional Dolphin fan who's talking himself into betting on Skylar Thompson. What could possibly go wrong? We have so much to get to here on the Ringer Sunday pregame. It's on YouTube TV. It's on FanDuel TV. Dolphins Seahawks. Is that going to be featured as a part of Man's Best Bet? You'll have to wait and see. And I can promise you this, it is not my pick for Man's Best Bet. Can I actually hit an underdog? That was a problem for me last year. We got to get it right. We got the Ringer family meal. Bill Simmons is going to join us. All that more. We're coming right back.
Is there, before you go, are there two people that we should be trying to trade for? Specifically me, because we're taping this well before the podcast goes up. Two people out there that are like kind of declining stocks that you feel like you should just swoop in and grab?
Yeah. If you want, I mean, quarterback, I think you should absolutely go after Goff. Goff right now I think he's the 29th best quarterback in fantasy, but there's a metric out there called expected points, and he's second in that.
Yeah, because they were 1-7 in the red zone last week.
Yeah, I mean, he's still throwing the most. He has like the second most yards. He's playing all of his games indoors. He has like great weapons. I think if anybody's getting sour on him, you should definitely trade for him. I also think that Khalil Shakir on the Bills, I think he's really good. I just think every time he catches the ball, he's great.
The one I was thinking, and I have him unfortunately on every team, is I do feel like there's going to be a DJ Moore moment.
Yeah.
Because Caleb looked so like fish out of water the first couple weeks, but DJ Moore was open a few times. There were stories this week about how his body language was bad on the sidelines because he was getting so frustrated. He's like, tough. Yeah, you're right. I got to work on that. But he's getting open, and they're going to eventually figure out how to get the ball to him, would be my guess.
I agree. We mentioned them on our Wednesday fantasy show. We did buy lows, and we had honestly the whole Bears receiving room. But it is nice, I will say. George Pickens is no longer the least happy receiver in the league, body language-wise, so that's good. Pickens and Fields are kind of friends.
Yeah, because Pickens knows now he's going to have his one catch a game that gets called back because of holding. Didn't even seem clear on the TV how he caught the ball, where he was just running and the ball, it was like somebody just dropped the ball. It was like CGI or Forrest Gump or something.
He has a good connection with Fields. He honestly does.
Yeah. You can admit that you like Fields. Go ahead.
I do. It's fun right now. This is good. But again, we were in like we played the Broncos, and it hasn't really exactly been that tough. We're winning games like 16-10.
Welcome back to the Ringer Sunday pregame with the wise guys, John Jastremski, Joe House, Cousin Sal, Raheem Palmer on YouTube TV, on FanDuel TV. We are rocking and rolling for the next hour. We got Bill Simmons coming up. We got Man's Best Bet, our underdogs of the week for week 3. It's all coming your way. Now, Joe House, you have a tough act to follow. And I feel bad because when you hit a parlay of greater than 6-1, the folks want more. They demand more. I know it's tough. I know the pressure's on. But what do you have in store for an encore?
JJ, I actually feel pretty good about this, maybe even better than last week. So be careful, everybody out there. But the starting point is I love when I'm on the same side as the Cuz. And we're looking at the Detroit Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. That's where we're getting this four-legger from. We have the Detroit Lions money line. That's just the starting point. Cuz touched on Dan Campbell after a loss and how good the Lions are after a loss. But the feature of this same game parlay and the props that follow under 51.5 total points. So just in general, unders, when you've seen these high totals so far this season, unders have been the play. And it's a very high total. And I think it fits the public's eye of what these two offenses are capable of. We haven't really seen it out of Detroit. And I think after 55 pass attempts by the Detroit Lions and Mr. Goff last week, we're going to get back to some basic principles with this Detroit Lions offense, which is rushing the football. They have the best offensive line in the NFL. There's no point to this 55 pass attempts against this Cardinals defense, which is at the very bottom of all metrics. And the way this thing's going to play out, we have the Jahmyr Gibbs over 76.5 rushing and receiving yards. He can get it either way, but Jahmyr Gibbs needs to feature heavily into this game plan if Detroit's going to be successful and keep Kyler Murray off the field, which is one of the best ways to contain Arizona and another way to get my under across the line. And then Kyler Murray over on his rushing yards. It's the first 2 weeks, he's been near 60 yards. The number that we have from FanDuel is 31.5 rushing yards. I do think that we're going to see Kyler off script, a lot of dropbacks, because I do think that Detroit will be up. And then you can see some of that scrambling from Kyler that we've seen the first 2 weeks. So those are the four legs. Detroit money line under 51.5 total. Gibbs 76.5 rush and receiving, and Kyler Murray over 31.5 rush yards. Pays better than 9 to 1. Yeah.
So I really like it too, House. Here's my only critique. Raheem, this game I actually think might go according to script as far as getting a ton of points. And I know scoring is down. And I know hitting an insanely high total is really tough to do. Detroit was moving the ball at will on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. They just couldn't execute within the red zone. I get where House is coming from. That total, though, out of those four legs, that's the one dream that kind of scares me the most. I got to be honest.
I think I'm with House on this, and I know I agree with House a ton, but I think if the Detroit Lions, they run the ball, I think that's going to take some time off the clock. There's something wrong with this Lions offense. They haven't really been clicking the way they were last year, and I think you have to kind of take that into account. So I think I agree with House on the under. I think one thing you have to take into account is that this line, I think, what did it open up? Around 40, 49.5, 50. Now you're past the key number of 51. So you're getting the worst of it if you play the over at this point in time. And I think House is playing the best of it. So I agree with him.
We'll see if House can hit an SGP for the second straight week, and it'd be one hell of a pad. Hey, you hit these every week, Sal. You can lose man's best bet. You can go and lose your wisest wager. You're going to hit an SGP for 5-6 to 1 every week. Our buddy House is going to take care of us, Sal.
If we could, isn't that a dream? If House only hit SGPs, we could just bring him on for like 2 minutes of the 90 minutes, and then he can go shower or whatever he likes to do. I mean, I love it. We could sit there and whatever you want to do.
House hits these every week. He's running for president. I mean, we don't need Trump. We don't need Kamala. We're voting for House in November. That's what it is.
House, you are looking and feeling very presidential tonight. I'm just throwing that out there.
House, I feel like
maybe it's the yellow shirt.
I feel like he's auditioning to be the announcer on The Price is Right or something. But who cares? Just hit the same game parlays.
All of the above. All the above.
Now, guys, on YouTube TV, you have the opportunity to mix and match with NFL Sunday Ticket with a 4-box. Our buddy Bill Simmons is going to be joining us later on in the show. He's got a 4-box for us. Let's see if we're aligned on what the Podfather might be thinking.
Now it's time for a special part of today's episode, sponsored by my friend, NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket, awesome features to help you stay on top of all the action, like Multiview, another friend of mine, where you can watch up to 4 games at once or layer on stats and fantasy views to track your favorite teams and players. And by the way, when you bundle NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get access to every game every Sunday That's the most live NFL games, all in one place. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games. Excludes digital-only games. Device and content restrictions apply. And good news for me, because YouTube has crowned me their CMO, their chief multi-view officer, to help pick the top 4 games of the week that you should watch with multi-view. And of course, they loaded the early games yet again. There's 3 easy ones. Chargers, Steelers, 2-2-0 teams, 2 similar teams. I like that matchup. 2 good coaches, 2 teams that I was bullish on before the year. So we got that. Texans, Vikings, another 2-0 battle, and 2 teams that have been chucking the ball around. Sam Darnold, resurgence year. I want to see it. And then Eagles, Saints would be the other one. The Eagles coming off a Monday night loss. The Saints 2-0, leading in every offensive category. So those would be my top 3. And then I think for the 4th one, maybe we go Bears, Colts. Anthony Richardson, never know with that guy. Caleb Williams, can he finally put it together against a defense that hasn't been that good? And I think that would be my 4th one. So thanks again to our friends at YouTube TV. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch every game every Sunday when you bundle NFL Sunday Ticket with YouTube TV. Sign up today at youtube.com/BS. The other thing is you can add the games to your library and then just go back and watch them. It's like just having an instant recording of whatever. I tortured myself and watched the Patriots, who should have beaten Seattle. I watched that one because my YouTube TV taped it. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games. Excludes digital-only games. Device and content restrictions apply.
Thanks, Billy. And I will admit, the 4-box for the 4 o'clock window is going to be a heck of a lot better. Sal, yeah. I got to be real, though. I don't need Bears Colts on the 4-box. I'm out on that.
Yeah, that's the one. He had an easier time of it because there's only 8 games to choose from, and there's a couple that you would throw out. I would replace, I'm with you. I don't know if you agree. I would replace it with Giants-Browns only because of the train wreck factor. But by the way, Simmons in his 4-box, he's not even watching the games. He put the Saints-Cowboys in his 4-box. Like, I didn't watch that game. Tell me what happened. I said, what are you disregarding your own? How are you watching TV on Sunday? With blocking your own 4-box out? But God bless.
Well, I'm glad you pay attention.
Yeah.
That means you're a good listener, Sal, because you were ready for him on Guess the Lines because of the content he's giving us here.
Exactly. It's very, very important what's said on the show.
Y'all are crazy.
Well, guys, go ahead.
The Steelers-Chargers has a total of 34.5. Who wants to watch that game?
But it's a battle of 2-0 teams, though, Raheem. I understand it's going to be.
They could be 5-0. That game is going
teams.
to be. It's going to be lifeless. There's going to be no action. I'd rather watch all 4 of us play football. Like, let's be real.
No, Dream, selling short that Steeler defense in the tough Jim Harbaugh Chargers house. They're selling them short.
That game's only going to last 2 hours, so it's a 2-for-1. That game will be over, and you know you can switch over to the.
This is how we know. This is how we know Bill was in his 50s.
Game.
Because millennials, we want to watch higher scoring games. We don't want to watch a total in the 34. This game is going to end 13-10.
It's going to be gross. But I fit that millennial description, Raheem, as someone who was born in 1988.
Oh, everyone's so young.
That's right, Sal. Young, spiffy, impressive. And I want to watch Chargers and Steelers. It's going to be gross. Come on, Raheem. We like a slobber knocker every now and again, no?
I'm not going to lie. I like to root against human achievement as an under better. So I think this is probably a good game to root against human achievement. If you got a same game parlay, just put a bunch of unders and hope for punts.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Now, before we get to our underdogs of the week, let's take a look at who's in, who's out for week 3. You mentioned that Charger-Steeler game. Justin Herbert going to give it a go for the Los Angeles Chargers. That's a big deal, seeing the Steelers favored by 2.5 points. Niners going to be without George Kittle. The Seahawks going to be without Kenneth Walker. And I see Jordan Love here. Sal, there was never a point in time where you actually fantasized and entertained the idea that Jordan Love was going to play after the injury he had in Brazil a couple of weeks ago. Seemed a little premature, no?
Well, unlike Raheem, I don't root against human achievement. And when a guy says he's going to try to give it a go, I was like, all right, yeah, wow. Why would anyone take Tennessee? But I think now your wisest wager of Tennessee is looking good. Although, my God, Will Levis giving points anywhere, leaves me. But listen, it's Malik Willis on the road or Will Levis giving points. Pick your poison. I think you got the right dose of poison.
Something has got to give. And that something is Will Levis getting his first win of the 2024 season. All right, boys, it's time to get barking. We got some monstrous dogs coming your way. Who's ready for Man's Best Bet? Now, you guys really went into the lab and found some of the biggest dogs of the week and said, no, we're going big or going home. We're not giving you a classic 120, 130 plus underdog. We're giving you a juicy sized underdog. And Raheem, I'm starting with you on this one because you hinted that a certain team that a certain someone roots for might be your pick for the week. What is your underdog for week 3?
I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. JJ's Miami Dolphins, plus 180. You look at plus 180, it denotes about a 35% chance of winning this game. And I actually think they have a higher than 35% chance of winning this game when you look at the fact that, damn, I got dogs barking in my ear, so it's happening already. Right. Anyways, you look at the fact that they're taking on a Seattle Seahawks team, which went to overtime. They played in New England last Sunday. Meanwhile, the Miami Dolphins, they played on Thursday Night Football. They got a lot of rest. And I know Tua is out for this game, and they got Skylar Thompson. But Skylar Thompson actually went into Buffalo during a playoff game, and he almost beat that team. So I look at it like this. I feel like we're getting a lot of value based on the fact that there's a backup quarterback. And we saw the same thing last week with Malik Willis. So I think Mike McDaniel's going to be able to put together a decent game plan with this much time. You look at the fact that the Seattle Seahawks, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. Kenneth Walker is out for this matchup. And so there's not going to be like a James Cook-like performance where he's running the ball all over the Dolphins because they're missing their starting running back. And you look at the fact that offensive tackle George Fant is also out for this game. The Seattle Seahawks are 26th in rushing EPA for play, 23rd in rushing success rate. I think the combination of the Seahawks injuries, the bad spot, the fact that the Dolphins have had plenty of time to prepare for this game, I think they're going to cover the 4.5, but I think that also gives them a good chance of winning this game outright. So let's go with the Dolphins.
I like it. Ton of injuries for Seattle, something to monitor as we get closer and closer to kickoff. Now, Cousin Sal, you're going with the game that I had featured as a part of the Rat Lines. Right. What would it be?
Well, I see completely where you're coming from. And I also see that this is 2024 and weird things happen, especially with underdogs. And that's why I'm going Jags tomorrow night, plus 198. I hit it last week. Taking them over the Bills. Listen, they've been a miserable watch, right? Week 1 against the Dolphins, they had that game. JJ against your team, they absolutely blew it. I feel like they outplayed the Browns last week and Deshaun Watson. They kept them around too long, and they lost that game. But the Bills have a ton of injuries on defense. Terrell Bernard, Taron Johnson, they already lost Milano. We know that. I think the Jags sneak up on them this week. We've seen worse teams pull off upsets. That's the whole thing. So no upset looks ridiculous at this point in the season. The Patriots are an inferior team, probably bottom 5. They beat the Bengals, right? We saw what the Raiders did to the Ravens. So you can't discount anything. That's what's great about this dog segment. I'm going plus 198. Jaguars pull off the upset. One team's won 7 in a row. One team's lost 7 in a row. It's Jacksonville 23-21 on Monday night.
Wow. So we have 2 monstrous dogs from Raheem and Sal. House, you want to one-up these 2. You're giving me a crazy big dog in the dog pound? Elaborate.
Well, this is what we do in 2024. I mean, Cuz just touched on it, and I have the math that backs it up. You look for teams that are favored by 5.5 points or more. Against the spread this year, there's been 11 such games at the opener, 1 in 10 against the spread. And in those 11 games, the underdog has won outright 6 times. So look, the Jets fit this, and the Jets just handled their business against New England. So that one's kind of out of the way, but we have another 5 of those games where the line is 5.5 points or more for the favorite. I'm jumping into this dirty water, and I don't understand the line between this Browns and Giants team. The Browns averaging 3.1 yards per play on first down, the fewest in the league. The Giants 3.8 yards per play, 31st in the league. You know, offensively, The Giants gain more yardage thus far, 272 yards per game compared to the Browns, 263.5 yards per game. The Browns have a 29% success rate on passing plays, ahead of only the Broncos and the Panthers. The Giants with a 34% success rate, 25th in the league. What I'm getting at is these two teams are close, and there is not, any one distinguishing factor. You could point at the Cleveland Browns defensive front and say these guys are going to step up. This is how they're going to control the game. But what we've seen thus far through these first couple of weeks is that you got to invest. You got to take the leap with a big dog, because that's how you cash it. I'm on the Giants this week. Dayball and Danny Jones love being underdogs on the road.
Wow. House on board with the Giants. Hopefully they'll actually suit up a kicker who can kick the football, which destroyed my man's best bet a week ago. One can only hope. And listen, you're betting against Deshaun Watson. I'm never going to advise someone against that idea. Now, gentlemen, for my man's best bet, I'm going with a game that to me screams overreaction. And the New Orleans Saints, for the first 2 weeks of the year, have been the toast of the NFL. Derek Carr's been on fire. Kubiak is offensive coordinator. All of this high-powered New Orleans offense. They're playing in the Superdome, going up against the team that nobody wants to bet this week. Everybody watched the Eagles choke on Monday Night Football against Atlanta. Oh, Sirianni stinks. Fangio stinks. The Eagles are missing A.J. Brown. Yet the odds makers have no problem giving you New Orleans only laying 2.5. Well, I think the good vibes will at least cool down a little bit here. This line is too much of an overreaction. This line at the beginning of the year was what? Philly -3, Philly -3.5. Now it's flipping 5.5 points. Not on my watch. We are taking the Philadelphia Eagles, going back to the well here in the NFC East. I am going to get my first underdog of the year. And Raheem, I know you said on East Coast Bias, hey, the time is now to buy New Orleans Saints Super Bowl futures. That's if they win this week. I don't think they're winning this week, Raheem. And I'll say this, if they do win, you're getting a way better number on the Saints now than you did a week ago. Is that right?
Oh, most definitely. I think the one thing that you have to be concerned about with the Eagles is that they are dead last in rushing yards allowed at 6.4 yards per carry. So if the Saints are able to run the ball the same way they were on the Dallas Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers, and the same way that the Atlanta Falcons were able to do against the Eagles, you kind of got to look out. But I do think you're getting a good number when you look at the look-ahead line before the season. So I wish you the best of luck, but I'm kind of hoping you lose because I want to see that Saints Super Bowl number plummet after today.
No, listen, when you give out a good number like that, I get it. Sal, I just am not there yet with the Saints. I need to see it one more week. Is that reasonable?
I like that Raheem as a Cowboys fan. Like, I'd like to see the Eagles lose because I want my Saints Super Bowl ticket to look good. No, we're Cowboys fans, Raheem. That's why we want to see the Eagles lose. And forget about the beginning of the season. Last week when Simmons and I did Guess the Lines, the Eagles were favored by 1.5 or 2. So yeah, JJ, you're getting like a 3.5, 4-point swing just in a matter of like 6 days. So the value is definitely there for the Eagles. But I like Raheem, like that running game was so quick yesterday. I don't know last week. I don't know if the Cowboys defense just didn't show up. But Kamara, all these guys looked like they were from 2018 all over again. I wish you luck.
Now, gentlemen, for our next guest pick, we are not exactly digging deep here. I love the great Danny Kelly, Ringer fantasy football extraordinaire, but we had Jomi come on, take a big swing. Danny, I love you. You're not taking a big swing with this guest pick. Let's hear it.
What's up, fellas? Danny Kelly here from the Ringer Fantasy Football Show, and my pick this week is going to be the Chiefs on the road at -3 over the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. And I know that Kirk Cousins just got done beating the Eagles on Monday Night Football last week, but I still don't think he's driving the ball all that well. I don't think he's moving around very well still as he comes off of that Achilles injury, and I think he could really struggle against this good Chiefs defense. On the other side of the ball, with Pacheco out, I think the Chiefs are going to put the ball in Mahomes' hands more. I think they're going to put this game on his shoulders, and that's something that I want to bet on. So I'm going with the Chiefs -3.
Not for nothing, Raheem. This is another one of these rat lines. We talked about Jacksonville and Buffalo. You talked about San Francisco and the Los Angeles Rams. The Chiefs only laying a field goal on Sunday night with the entire nation watching. And those 3 primetime games, 1 on Sunday, 2 on Monday, Chiefs Bills, Bengals. One of them is going down and going down hard. You know it and I know it.
So here's the thing about this game. This is a market, and this line opened. Kansas City Chiefs -4.5. Sharp money has taken this to 3. You got the Isaiah Pacheco injury. It puts them in a spot where you're going to see sharp money want the Atlanta Falcons. But this is somewhat of a bad spot for the Falcons. They're coming off of Monday Night Football. They probably should have lost that game to the Philadelphia Eagles. And if they had lost that game, this line would be higher. So at -3, this is probably the buy point on the Kansas City Chiefs. We spoke about this all the time. Patrick Mahomes, when the spread is between +3 and -3, he's 12-6-1. 62% against the spread. So if you look at this spread and automatically bet Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, you have a positive expected value wager long term. I can't be mad at Danny Kelly for this. You're riding with so good luck to you.
I get it. Just a little stinky. That's all I'm going to say. Now, hopefully this SGP is not going to be particularly stinky. We're going to the Niner-Ram game, and I like San Francisco to just win the game. I'm not going to get cute with the points. Give me the Niners to go and win the game. Now, what else are we going to include in our SGP? We're going to take Mr. Mason, who is filling in for Christian McCaffrey. We're going to take him to score a touchdown. We're going to go over receiving yards for the Ram tight end, Mr. Parkinson. And without Deebo Samuel and without George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk should be looking to feast. Now, you're not getting the same sort of payout you're getting with House's SGP. We're keeping it a little bit more conservative. But there's Ayuk, Parkinson, Mason will get it a little under 4-1, and hopefully that is a winner that can bring it home in the late afternoon window. Now, it's time for all 4 of us to join together and cook up our family meal. All right, let's cook it up. We came so close last week. We gave out a couple of receivers. Raheem hit on it. I hit on Amon-Ra St. Brown, but we got to hit all 4 of these. Eventually, it is going to happen. Sal, I'll start with you. What do you have for an appetizer?
Well, listen, this is the one, we give out a bunch of picks, probably 6 or 7 throughout the 90 minutes, whatever we're on. But I'd love to hit this for the people, right? We put 1, 2, 3, 4. We stack them together. We win a few of these. Beautiful. All right, so this is a little appetizer, a little po' boy here, a little po' boy sandwich. I hope I'm not a poor boy after this one, but I'm going Carr, 2 or more touchdown passes. I'm sorry, JJ, I know you like the Eagles, but maybe both could work out here. It's probably stupid in 2024 to ever take any quarterback over 1.5 touchdown passes. I think there have been 11 touchdown passes all year, but Vic Fangio has not exactly turned this Eagles defense around thus far. We saw Kirk Cousins go up and down the field in the last minute of the game on Monday night. Bad defenses maybe don't travel well, especially on short rests. 27th in the league. Philly is 8 yards per attempt. That's amongst the worst. Teams are picking on rookie Quinion Mitchell right there, and nobody wants to hear it, but Derek Carr is doing more than getting the job done. 2 or more touchdown passes in 5 straight against bottom 5 defenses. And by the way, the first 2 games, he hasn't really had to put up numbers in the second half. They blew out the Panthers. They blew out the Cowboys. I don't know how much offense they were trying to put together, but he has 5 touchdowns and only 1 interception in that span. Regardless, 2+ against the filthy defense this afternoon.
Okay, House, you're bringing the entree to the table. What's our main entree for the family meal?
Well, I just want to say, Cousin Sal and I have a history in New Orleans, so I strongly endorse Cousin. He and I have had po' boys together. There's actual footage somewhere on the internet.
That sounds scary. That looks and sounds scary. It really does.
And the thing I love about that Derek Carr pick is him with not under pressure is magnificent, and the Philadelphia Eagles are the worst in the NFL at bringing pressure. Among the worst. But I'm on a different angle. We're in Vegas, baby. It's crab legs time. Giant king crab, because we're looking at the giant tight end for the Vegas Raiders, Brock Bowers, who's been an absolute stud so far. We only need him over 47.5 receiving yards against the Carolina Panthers, one of the worst teams in the NFL against tight ends. This is the first home game for Bowers. He's already gotten 17 targets in his first 2 games, and he absolutely crushed the Ravens last week in the second half. 6 targets for 82 yards in the second half. Carolina very bad against tight ends, as I mentioned. And in the first game, the tight end there, 43 yards, no issues. Gardner Minshew loves throwing to Brock Bowers. Let's go get these crab legs. Honestly, I hope in front of me.
Oh, I love it. Making me hungry already. Okay, Raheem, let's keep adding to the pot here. Fire away.
I'm going to add a steak to the table. Hopefully you get yourself a porterhouse. That's what I prefer. Best
medium rare, Raheem. That's how we do it around here. Medium rare or go home.
Oh, most definitely medium rare. Sometimes I like it rare. I like it raw. Anyway.
Ooh, spicy.
Let's go with Bo Nix. Over 18.5 rushing yards. This guy had 4 rushes for 25 yards against the Steelers and 5 rushes for 35 yards against the Seahawks. He's not very good at throwing the ball, but he can run the ball. And you look at this Buccaneers defense, they are missing Vita Vea. I mean, he's a strong part of the defensive line, but even with him, they've allowed 18 rush attempts to QBs through the first 2 weeks of the season. 3rd most overall in the NFL. So I think the Broncos are going to get a little bit done today. And I think Bo Nix is going to go over 18.5 rushing yards. I think a couple weeks from now, you're going to see this around 25, 26. So grab this one now because the party is not going to last too much longer.
That is rare indeed. Rare indeed. So to cap off the family meal, I'm giving us an anytime touchdown. And Raheem, you're going to like this because it's coming from the Dolphins-Seahawks game. Devon Achane, who is going to be the bell cow for Mike McDaniel. Without Tua, Raheem Mostert is out. I am taking Sal Devon Achane to go and score a touchdown in this game. I think he's going to get a gazillion touches. And I know you want to hit one of these, Sal. This one is like right around 15-1. We can do it.
Really?
We can do it.
This is it. This keeps us even for the season. Let's put it together. Really try on this one, fellas.
We have put the effort in, and if this one won't be the one, well, guess what? We get to do it again next week. We still have a half hour of the Ringer Sunday pregame coming your way here on YouTube TV. We're going to say goodbye to our FanDuel TV audience in a little bit, and what is coming up over the next half hour of the show, we're going to figure out who's in and who's out. We'll get the latest as far as status updates are concerned. And, guys, are you allowing me to buy back in for the knockout pool for the 3rd straight week? House, is that allowed? I don't know.
I mean, you already owe us 2 Peter Luger steaks. Is it going to be 3?
I don't know. I might be cutting off limbs. I don't know. I might be taking out loans. I may have to talk to a bunch of brokers as far as that goes. But I will have a survivor pick, and our buddy Bill Simmons is going to join us. So for Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, we say goodbye on FanDuel TV. You'll want to stay tuned, though, on YouTube TV as we are counting you down to kickoff Week 3, Ringer Sunday NFL pregame. I got news for you. We got 4 wise wagers. All 4 of us. Got to figure out what that parlay is going to be. You got the family meal a little under 15-1. The wise wager is going to be that much better. We'll see you on YouTube TV. The boys signing off on FanDuel TV. Be good, everybody.
The Take Master is here, Stephen Ruiz. He came on last month. I asked him for his 5 hottest takes heading into the NFL season. His number 1 hottest take was that Bryce Young would be benched. Now, do you get demerits because you didn't say he would be benched in September? I feel like that would have been the elite take, right?
I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. I should have seen that coming as a Panthers fan. As someone who watched this guy play for 17 games or 16 games last year, I should have known better. But I'm sorry. I'll be better this time. I'll have hotter takes this time.
What if it's not the players? What if it's the Panthers in the city?
I think it's David Tepper. I think he's the horror. He's the villain
so he's
of the horror
movie.
Yeah, he's the horror movie. I do think that's fair. But this is more like, I guess, like a financial movie where he's kind of Wall Street, maybe.
So it's like The Big Short.
Yeah. It's around. It's like that. He's definitely to blame. Like I don't think Bryce Young really had a chance. I was low on him before the draft. Like you watched him play.
Yeah.
I honestly don't give myself too much credit for calling him getting benched because for me, that was the take I felt strongest about going into that last pod we did, just because when you have like a historic outlier like him, you're 5'10", 180 pounds. Those guys don't get drafted in the top 5. I think it's like you either have it or you don't, and you could tell right away. And with him, if you weren't like holding on to hope that he would become the Panthers savior as a Panthers fan, I think it was very easy to watch him and be like, this guy doesn't have it. It's not viable. And then this year, we just seen it get worse.
Yeah. And once you lose your confidence as a quarterback, you might as well just go hide in the hyperbaric chamber. I mean, there's also this alternate universe where he got the Panthers over Michael Rubin, the guy who owns Fanatics. And I don't know what that would have looked like, whether that would have been better, but I don't think it would have been worse.
Yeah, I think it would have been better. David Tepper's a finance guy who thinks all of the lessons he learned in finance apply to the NFL. And you could just hear it in his press conferences, things right on his own terms, where he kind of gets credit for doing it a different way.
Welcome back to the Ringer Sunday pregame here on YouTube TV. We're hanging for the next half hour with the wise guys. We welcome back Raheem Palmer, Joe House, Cousin Sal, as we get closer and closer to week 3. Boys, let's take a look at the wise wagers that we all had for week number 3. Sal, you're rolling. You need a win. The Detroit Lions are going to make it 2 in a row for you. I'm taking the Tennessee Titans. House ended up going with a total with the Chiefs and the Atlanta Falcons. And Raheem, you're breaking Cousin Sal's heart by taking the Baltimore Ravens. Raheem, I didn't expect this from you. But you know what? It just goes to show you put cash above your heart any day of the week.
Cash rules everything around me. You heard Method Man. That's how it goes down.
And Sal, was this an easy one for you to figure out with Detroit, or did this really go down to the wire? It felt like you were confident about this one by Wednesday or Thursday.
I did like it. I don't know what it is, and I don't even hate Arizona this year. I feel like they could grab the last playoff spot when it comes down to it. But Detroit is ready. They're primed to break out, and I had that big trend on my side, so I like it.
And I feel like, House, you were sick and tired of giving out sides, so you said, all right, to get my first wise wager win of the year, I'm going to give out a total. Why not?
Well, I got very close. The first 2 weeks, I was just playing teams that I regard as Super Bowl contenders as favorites. So Houston laying 2.5 week 1, last week the Eagles. And then I looked so hard at this Chiefs -3 in Atlanta that I said, you know what? I prefer to just play the primetime under here. In addition to some of the, the X's and O's where I just think that Atlanta, it makes the most sense for them to just try and keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands by running it against, the only aspect of the Chiefs defense that's vulnerable. Kirk Cousins has faced Spags a bunch of times, 6 times, and the under has hit 4 of those times. In the last handful of times, Cousins' average attempts downfield have been very small, like, under 7 yards per attempt. So I think that's like another kind of indicator of how this thing might go down.
Well, guys, we will have Bill Simmons in a matter of moments. We're going to have some eliminator knockout picks. You guys are going to be graceful enough to let me pick another loser for the 3rd straight week. We do have some YouTube comments. We're on YouTube TV. You have an opportunity to get in touch with the wise guys here on the Ringer Sunday pregame. And this one comes from Ricky Reyes and House. This one is right up your alley. Over under half a box of OVO's cereal in your kitchen.
I mean, the OVOs they're right there. It's a giant box. You can't open it. It's a collector's item. I mean, when's the next time the Washington Capitals are going to win the Stanley Cup? And Ovi's going to get that goals record this coming year, or if not this year, next year. He's going to stay around in the league until he gets it. But that's a collector's item. It's a must keep. Don't eat.
But you didn't get any that like you'll indulge on to maybe have after the Sunday pregame show. You're gonna be eating any cereal on us? No OVOs?
No. I mean, they're stale now. I don't think so.
You can't get them fresh. Sal, you have Reggie bars though. I could see that in the compound for you.
I do have the Reggie bars. I'm not a Yankee fan, but we did pass them around. I think they sell them on Long Island now. It's like a regional sell, but the boys like them, the kids like them, and the staff likes them here too. So we're keeping them with the Reggie bars.
You can't go wrong with a Reggie bar. Now this next one from Crow Robot is going to be right up our alley, Rick. And he asks if the best survivor pick is the Bengals. That's a sensitive subject for me, Raheem, after what happened in week 1. I'm not going to lie.
I think it is the Bengals. And, look, I know that, the biggest favorite of the week has been losing every single week. But at some point, this trend has to end. You look at the fact that the Washington Commanders, they have one of the worst defenses in the league. You're talking, 30th or 31st in EPA per play or in success rate. I think the Cincinnati Bengals, they should be able to capitalize on this defense. And then T. Higgins is back in the lineup as well. They got a little extra time to prepare. because they're playing on Monday night. They're at home. I think if they lose this game, then it would be stunning for me.
No question. Okay, so for our Week 3 Survivor picks, thankfully you guys will let me continue to play in the little charade that we have going on. Sal and House, they don't have a loser yet. Raheem, you went with the Indianapolis Colts last week. That did not go according to plan. And it seems like all three of you guys are rolling with Cincinnati. Sal, that's your pick as well?
Yeah, it is. But JJ, this is like a 4-man eliminator pool. Who cares? I'd rather see if you could go 0-18. That's what I want to do. I feel like
that'd be a lot more fun. I agree with you on that.
Just do that. I mean, that would be miraculous.
I'm going to keep picking the most obvious pick. That's what I'm doing.
This is truly rooting against human achievement. When you want your coworker to go 0-18.
But we'll profit. We'll figure it out by week 6 that we got to just fade them the whole time. But
totally fair. And I've been taking the biggest favorite on the board. Now I can, in theory, take Cincinnati because I took them in week 1.
Yeah.
So I'm taking Vegas. They're playing Carolina. They're the worst team in the league. There's no way Vegas loses this game, right?
Oh man. Well, now there's a way. Now
that
you
is
took
hilarious.
them.
There's a million ways they could lose this game. I almost picked Carolina as my favorite dog for this week. Yeah.
Wow. House almost got on the Andy Dalton train. I didn't know that, House.
Well, it's just a brand new football team with a competent quarterback. We have no idea what Carolina is capable of on offense or defense because they've been playing short field defense and turnover on offense. I mean, I don't think they have a third down conversion yet this season. So I think to me, that one was a stay a million miles away from in terms of doing anything with Vegas because Carolina, might as well be the first game of the season for them.
My pick's the Bengals, but JJ, I think you're on the right side. The Raiders are the better team. I think we know what we're going to get out of Andy Dalton. It's going to be a lot of checkdowns, which his completion percentage will be better than whatever Bryce Young put forward. But for God's sakes, Raiders, just beat these hapless Panthers. Enough already.
Sal must have the Raiders.
Antonio Pierce might punt from the 40-yard line, and who knows? So,
okay, now we have an anytime touchdown. We went with 4 individual games. So if you guys want to get nuts and tail us here on a 4-legger anytime TD parlay, you might have a little bit of fun on FanDuel. Sal, I'm giving you the Rams-49ers game. Give me an anytime touchdown.
Well, we talked about all the injuries in that game, and they may just show up. There might be like 11 players there. They might be like, let's just go to the beach or let's hit the La Brea Tar Pits. Why are we even going to play this game? But if they do play the game, I'm with Brandon Ayuk to score a touchdown. It's now plus 130. He's one of the few that Brock Purdy has to throw against. I think he has to start earning that $120 million. He hasn't had great success against the Rams. He scored against them in 22, I think. This is just a hunch play. And I know you would hate this, Raheem, but I feel like this is a Martindale play. I feel like I'm going to double up on this until it happens. Brandon Ayuk is going to score this year. That is not responsible betting, but I like it for this week for sure, plus 130.
I like it as well, Sal. Now, Raheem, give me one from the Eagles-Saint game where we may have a whole lot of scoring.
Well, you see both running backs in this game. They're priced pretty heavily. You're looking at Alvin Kamara minus 190, Saquon Barkley minus 135. I'm not seeing much value on those two. So I'm going to go left on this. I'm going to go with Rashid Shaheed plus 190 for anytime touchdown. You look at Derek Carr. He's already thrown 5 touchdown passes this year. In a year where nobody can throw touchdown passes. I mean, before that that Thursday night football game, I think he threw 7% of the touchdown passes this year. So let's go with a wide receiver here, Rashid Shaheed, plus 190.
Okay, House, you're looking near and dear to your heart. The Commies, Bengals, Monday night game, anytime touchdown.
Yeah, I'm looking at both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins because Washington, by every single metric that's available to mankind, is the worst pass defense in the NFL. And number one receivers, somebody like Jamar Chase, have had terrific games against this Washington secondary. I might just go ahead and parlay both T. Higgins at plus 170 and Jamar Chase plus 105 as anytime touchdown guys, plus 494 if you parlay them. But anytime, the safe one's Jamar at plus 105.
Like the sound of that. All right, because I can't give out Devon Achane twice, DK Metcalf is going to have a big day for the Seattle Seahawks. He's got the chemistry. He's got the rapport with Geno Smith. Jalen Ramsey not moving great for Miami the first 2 games of the year. Give me DK Metcalf to complete the anytime 4-leg touchdown parlay. Let's get it. on FanDuel. Now, we are going to have Bill Simmons joining us in a matter of moments. Sal, I know you're on an innings restriction.
That's
so
it. Yeah.
You feeling good? That's it?
I'm
5
feeling
and done.
good.
That's it.
The Mets are in a playoff race. I got to go ice the arm and then bet some EPL first half action before we kick off at 1 p.m. So God bless you guys. You're going to love Simmons, by the way.
Yeah, I hope he's in good form.
Yeah.
Go rest up, go ice the arm, and we'll see you for Guess the Lines, okay?
Love you, fellas.
We say sayonara to Cousin Sal, and new customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. And all customers who bet $5 get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Watch every out-of-market Sunday afternoon game with NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube, or get even more NFL when you bundle with YouTube TV to get local and national games on 100+ live TV channels. Download and visit the FanDuel app today. Terms and embargoes apply. It's time. Let's welcome in our buddy Bill Simmons. Hi, Bill. First off, what do we think of that graphic? It's quality.
I really liked it. I feel bad bumping out Cousin Sal because there's nothing more than he loves than talking gambling. But, you know, we're doing Guess the Lines tonight. It's a little like the bride and the groom seeing each other on their wedding day before they go down the aisle. And we don't want to spoil it. So instead, I'm with you guys, my great friends.
Well, it's A-okay. House, he needs to be refreshed, right? Like, you know, now we're in this load management, innings count, innings cap. We got to make sure the Cuz A-okay for you, Bill, tonight, right, House?
Well, I think that Sal's fine for NFL. He mentioned EPL, but there's WNBA playoffs today. Like,
we're in. House and I are in on that already.
I mean,
are you guys actually nailing some winners?
We did some serious bets. We have the Lynx, the Sun, and the Vegas team. It's like basically even odds on FanDuel. I jumped on that.
Hey, if you got me winners, please share. Now, Bill, I want to give you our wise wagers of the day. Pick your favorite. Raheem's taking the Ravens. I'm taking Tennessee. House is going with the under for Chiefs and Falcons.
I like that.
You like them all? You fading? Where do you stand?
I can't believe you took Will Levis, JJ.
I did.
It's a borderline suspension. It's at least a fine.
Wow,
I don't know if you watched the last
offended.
2 weeks. Will Levis had to change his phone number because the Titans fans got a hold of it and they were killing him. And he had to change it. He's under attack. I just would not go near that. The Ravens are my favorite of the three. 0-2. If they lose this, no 0-3 team has ever won the Super Bowl. I don't think the Cowboys are good. I think the casinos are basically valuing Dallas because they're a public team, but not because they're a good team. Baltimore needs it. I think Baltimore's gonna be able to throw on them all day. That was my favorite. I mean, that and somebody who had the Lions. That was Sal, right?
Lions.
I think we all like Arizona, but are the Lions really going to lose 2 straight? Are the Lions really as bad as they looked last week? When, by the way, they ran like 85 plays and they were in the red zone 7 times. They only scored once. That was a really fluky game. I still don't know how they didn't win last week. I am on the Lions this week, just getting their identity back. We have this huge offensive line.
Play.
We're going to run the
Rolling
ball. We're going to do a little play action, and we're just going to carve up this crappy Arizona defense. So I didn't like last week. I really like this week, and I like it to the point that it either means I'm going to do great or I'm just going to be super depressed, and you're going to see me on Guess the Lines tonight looking like I just got run over by a train. So it's one or the other, JJ.
Okay, I like that. I like that you're confident. By the way, the only panelist who's 2-0 with the wise wager is this guy, Simmons. So
you're 2-0 the wise wager. You've been out of the knockout pool 2 weeks in a row. So I don't know what you're zigging, you're zagging. You're like George Costanza.
Let me tell you something. I will donate every week in the Survivor pool if I can win the wise wager.
JJ, the whole point of a Survivor pool is once you lose, you're out of the Survivor pool.
Well,
this is like,
I agree.
It's like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas. Like, oh, I just got whacked. Can I buy back next week? It's like, no, you can't. Your head's all over the carpet right now. You're done. You're out.
Hey, I'm the cat with 9 lives. Okay, let's get to some games you like. You like Baltimore. You like Detroit. Give me another pick you like.
I don't want to buy into this Saints thing, and I was really resistant. House and I talked about it on Thursday night. There's just some great data. Data? What are we going with these days? Data? What is it, House?
Raheem, you want to weigh in on
data?
this?
Data?
Data or data?
Take that for data.
Yeah, data.
Yeah.
We'll go with data.
there's some really good stuff about the Saints and what they did the first 2 weeks and how it might translate to a bigger picture buy-in. Don't be suspicious. And House and I talked about the 99 Rams, what that was like. We're old. It's 25 years ago. Kurt Warner comes in. They lose Trent Green before the season. Kurt Warner comes in. He's from the Arena Football League, and they look awesome to start the season. Everybody's like, what is this? I don't believe in this. And what they showed in the first couple of weeks was who they were. They're fast. They were really well coached. They had a quarterback who, they were leaning on to make the right plays. That was the takeaway. I watched Saints Cowboys a day after Guess the Lines because I missed it. The takeaway for me is they're just really fast and they're really well coached and guys are moving around and they have speed everywhere. And I think it's real. So comparing that to the Eagles, what we saw from their defense, they're slow. They seem out of shape. You can run on them. You can throw on them. Their secondary stinks. What they did in that last drive against the Falcons was an embarrassment. I mean, Cousins drove down in a minute. So I just think this is a great spot for them. They're home. New Orleans is behind this team in a real way now. They hated it 3 weeks ago. Now they love it. And I like the odds. I actually think they should be laying 3.5, not 2.5, House.
Bill, can I run something by you?
Yeah.
So it's so interesting because the Saints have scored 91 points through the first 2 games of this season. And there's only been 2 other teams who have done that. The 71 Cowboys and the 2009 Saints. Both of those teams have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be a good idea to take the Saints at 33-1 to win the Super Bowl and 13-1 to win an NFC because they've taken sharp money this week, which pushed that line from Eagles -3 to Saints -3, -2.5. So if they win this game, those Super Bowl odds plummet. What do you think about those futures bets?
Well, so I heard you do this on Ringer Gambling Show earlier in the week. You push the odds, Raheem. I don't know if it was you responsible, but it's on FanDuel. It's 11-1 for the conference and 27-1 for the Super Bowl. So either other people saw it like you who were smart or people are following the dream. So it's one or the other, but I agree with you. If they're favored in this game, their Super Bowl odds should be better. I think, look, there's real hesitancy. It's Dennis Allen, losing record. Can't trust him.
I'm out.
It's Derek Carr. I get it.
Can I stop this saying Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
Dennis Allen and Carr. Just think about what you guys are saying right now. You want to invest in Super Bowl tickets with Dennis Allen and Derek Carr?
Raheem wants to. Raheem wants to. You didn't hear House and I like, let's get in on that, Raheem. But I think for this week, can they go 3-0? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Here's my comp. Look at Kyle Shanahan when he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. What has Matt Ryan ever done without Kyle Shanahan? So you could say
that on the Manning cast.
Yeah, I mean what? So you could say the same thing about Clint Kubiak as you could say about Kyle Shanahan. Now I know Kyle Shanahan has the pedigree and he's done it longer, but what if he's that next guy?
Well, the other thing with New Orleans, if you go through their schedule, it gets week 4 is at Atlanta, week 5 is at KC. They're not going to win both of those. So could they be 3-0 going to those? Sure. Will they split those? Probably. But then as the season goes along, they're playing at Carolina. They have Cleveland, Deshaun Watson at home. They have a Rams team at home that might have 5 guys on it by them. They're at the Giants. They're home for Washington. They're home for Vegas. They're at Tampa week. It just feels, we said this before the year as we stared at the NFC South all freaking summer, wondering who's going to come out of this. None of us wanted to take Atlanta. And who's the team going to be? I remember DeBundo was pushing the Panthers at 11-1. It's like, why not? Who's going to win this thing? And it feels like it's going to be the Saints, but you guys talked about the Falcons earlier. I'm afraid of the Falcons in that game. Like the Chiefs -3 and Vegas is based in FanDuel. They're basically begging you to take KC -3. And it feels a little rat line-ish, JJ. It really does.
Well, I was going to ask you about this, Bill, because to me, there were a lot of rat lines. I think Jacksonville and Buffalo fits that description. Raheem pointed out the Niners, who are only laying 6.5 against a beat-up, depleted Rams team. What's the biggest rat line on the board for Sunday?
Chiefs -3. Because if the Falcons, first of all, if they don't call the screen pass to Barkley and just run the ball twice, they win by double figures. The Falcons are 0-2. And everybody's going, oh, my God, this Falcons thing's a disaster. And the Chiefs are at least -4 in that game. Instead, they screen pass to Barkley. JJ, you watch Barkley in New York. He drops that screen pass all the time. It's like, oh, that's automatic to Barkley. It's not automatic. He drops that. And instead Atlanta comes back and they score. They're 1-1. I thought their defense looked good in that Monday night game though. I just don't know about Cousins. The Eagles didn't touch him. He got touched twice. Can the Chiefs defense win this game? The thing I like about the +3 is the cheap touchdown potential at the end, because how are the Chiefs going to run the ball? You guys seen Carson Steele? It's like having freaking house out there. Running 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. It's like he was an undrafted 21-year-old.
Today, we'll get you down to Atlanta. Let's go.
Well,
Right.
I mean,
So you don't
literally-
like Kareem? You don't like Kareem Hunt?
Did you see Kareem Hunt? There's so many bad stats from him last year that
I know he's
like,
rough. I'm
did
playing.
the single worst
did-
job of breaking tackles last year, House.
Yeah, they didn't even activate him.
Right.
I do fit the bill. I definitely am a full back, but that's what Carson. That's all you're going to get out of Steele. It's exactly why BSU made the case for me playing the total in that game rather than just riding with the favorite Chiefs. I do think it's a little bit of a scary spot. The only counter is I do think that the Chiefs are going to put pressure. I love Spags against an immobile Cousins, and the way that Spags will game plan to get some pressure. Chris Jones, I think, might be a wrecking ball. So, I mean, that would be the reason the Chiefs defense ends up, pulling it out in 3.
Well, that's so you had the under, right? I thought that was smart.
That was the way to go for me.
JJ, can I throw out? So we did $1 million picks on Thursday night, and I actually loved everything we did. There's a bet we didn't do, and you guys talked about Bears Colts earlier, and that Colts defense, how bad it is, and they've had injuries now. Buckner's out, and if there's ever a week for the Bears to get going, Raheem pointed out that this is probably the week. Bears teased to +7.5. So basically, even if Indianapolis, they run the ball, it's going great. I think the Bears defense is actually pretty sneaky decent, but they run the ball. Let's say they go up double digits. They're still in cheap touchdown range at the end against an awful Colts defense. Could you do that and maybe buy a couple points with the Falcons? Maybe take the Bears up to +7.5 and buy some points with the Falcons, get them over 4 and 4.5, and just bank on that being a 3-point game? Or would you tease the Bears? Raheem, what would you do? Would you tease the Bears with somebody else? Who would be the second team for you?
So I really love that Bears teaser because they've allowed under 20 points or fewer in their last 8 games.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a total that's about 43. So there's a premium on, getting the 7 and a hook. Now for the second team that I would tease,
by the way, teases have been losing. Week 2 is tease
like crazy.
bloodbaths. So we're all saying be careful.
Cincinnati, Raheem. They're not losing to Washington. There's your teaser.
Oh, God.
Cincinnati's not going to win.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
Another Monday night massacre. That's the only thing to be care of. We told America last week, don't tease the Eagles. Don't have them be the last leg of your Houston Philly buyback. It was a bloodbath on week 2. And what did the Eagles do? They went out and murdered everybody.
Here's the leg. You take the Chargers on the teaser. The total's 34.5.
Yes.
I can't do it.
This is going to be
I can't do it.
I can't either.
Can we do the under with the Chargers instead? Like,
can we tease up
they're
the under?
They're basically
Yes.
like Justin Herbert. We think his foot's okay.
Like this game could, honestly, if the Chargers score 3 points, they're going to cover this teaser.
Yeah, but this
is
could be
a 13. This is probably a 13-10 game.
Are we sure this isn't Justin Fields? Let's get overexcited about him week, because I'm preparing for it. I think they were really careful those first 2 games, both on the road. They're back in Pittsburgh. Herbert's banged up. We have no idea if this Chargers offense can play. But you saw it with the Pats in week 3. Pats look great if it's a 3-point game. If they're down 10, the game's over. They have no chance. And I'm really dubious of the Chargers. If that Steelers defense and the crowd and all of a sudden they're up 10-0, would you want the Chargers at that point? I wouldn't want to go near them.
No.
I just don't. I don't see them going up 10-0. I think this is going to be a game. I mean, we watched that USC Michigan game yesterday, where Michigan won with 32 passing yards. I think this is a rival of that, like an NFL version of that. Like,
wait, can I do something that's going to make Raheem possibly have a stroke on live TV?
Oh no!
Yes, I can't wait for this.
What if we teased Baltimore through the 0 and brought them up to +4.5? No, Raheem's gonna have a convulsion.
Are you leaving the set after that?
I'm gonna let Bill cook today because I like Baltimore. I think Baltimore wins this game. So sometimes the rules are meant to be broken.
That's it. I'm cementing it. Baltimore +4.5 with the Bears +7.5. Let's go.
I wonder. Yeah, I was trying to think of quickly if the money line for the Ravens would help the price at all. But go ahead and I mean, we all like the Ravens, so
Yeah, we do all like the
Ravens
Ravens.
a family bet. Okay. What's your underdog of the day, Simmons? Raheem gave out Miami outright. House got nuts. He gave out the Giants outright. I went with Philadelphia. I know you're not going to like that one. What is an underdog greater than 3 points that wins the game outright?
I love the Jacksonville play. I don't understand why that line isn't Buffalo by 3 with all the injuries Buffalo's defense has had. Buffalo's defense, we didn't feel good about to begin with, and they've just lost 3 starters, including 2 guys that were among the best on that defense, Bernard and Milano. And I watched both those Jacksonville games. I just want to say, I know we're on TV. I hate the Jaguars with the passion of 100 planets. What they did last week was just an absolute disgrace, but they're in these games and it's a lot of like unforced errors, shoot yourself in the foot. And going to Buffalo, I just like them to keep the game close, possibly win. 2-1 underdog odds for them. I think they could absolutely win in Buffalo. All due respect to Josh Allen, but I think that defense is going to have a lot of trouble in that game.
It's a rat line. I think it's the biggest rat line of the week.
What do you think the line should be?
After Buffalo just smoked Miami and has extra time to prepare, I thought this line was going to be higher. I did. No one wants to bet the Jags right now, Bill.
Well,
and I'm with you. I'm taking them on Monday night.
You're
I'm taking
a
them because I
depressed
think the
Miami
line stinks,
fan.
but yes.
Can I say something? Raheem talked earlier. Raheem, I thought you threw a flawless show today, and yet Ohtani took you deep once. You talked about Skylar Thompson, how good he was in that Buffalo playoff game. It's just not what actually happened. Like the Josh Allen gave up a fumble touchdown. He threw 2 picks where Miami got the ball in their own territory. Skylar Thompson was 18 for 45 in that game and had 2 picks and had the ball over and over again in Buffalo territory with chances to win, and he wasn't that good. There's no evidence that Skylar Thompson is good. He's 27. That was the best game of his career, is 18 for 45. And I just think going forward, I actually think Miami is in a bad spot, JJ. Like, this could get dark.
Well, the good news for them is the schedule is manageable over the next 4 weeks. If they can go 2-2 in the next 4, I think they have to sign. They play at Seattle. They host Tennessee on Monday night. They play your Patriots on the road. We'll see if that is the Drake May coronation in early October.
Getting ready for that one.
And then at Indianapolis. Simmons, they could go 2-2 in those 4 games. It's going to require some coaching, some creativity, but it's not exactly a murderer's row for the Dolphins. And Raheem, I think with Skylar Thompson, Simmons is right. Yeah. He didn't play great in that game. The expectation and the standard was so low, though. You remember watching it, you're like, he was a little bit better than we thought. And let's see if he improved, because he hasn't played a game in 2 years. That's the other wrinkle in this. That was 2 years ago. He's been sitting around. He has not played. Tua played all the games last year. Raheem, we get a better version of Skylar Thompson. That's the question.
Yeah, I think Bill is right about this. Just the expectations of it was just he exceeded expectations, so it threw me off. But I want to go back to that Bills Jaguars game, because the Jaguars played the Bills in London last year, and that line was actually Bills -5.5. So you're getting a similar line here, and they're not even really pricing in home field advantage. But the Jaguars carved that Bills defense up last year, and the Bills have even more injuries now. So I really like that Jaguars game.
Can I give a Skylar Thompson analogy? House and I have made the drive from LA to Vegas a couple times, and House will get hungry about an hour in, and he's hungry because he starts just calling out fast food signs as you're driving. He'll be like, "Oh, In-N-Out." It's just almost like he's just like spasming. And by the time we stop at Barstow, which is like about halfway through the drive, I could take him to any restaurant of the fast food thing, and House would think it's the best sandwich he's ever had, even though it's not that great. And I don't want to disparage any of the fast food companies, but House would literally enjoy anything. And I think that was Skylar Thompson in that Buffalo game for JJ in the playoffs, where it was
By the
like
way, the line is down to 4.
You can't believe it was edible.
House. Ooh.
It's down to 4. Are we moving it?
Maybe. Seattle only favored by 4.
Interesting.
A big part of it is the spot, though. Seattle played that overtime game. You look at the fact that the Patriots were able to run the ball last week, and so I just think people are just playing this kitchen sink spot for the Dolphins.
Well, and they're decimated too, Raheem. That's the other thing. Seattle's injury report, Simmons, is outrageous in this
It's
game.
the Kenneth Walker thing. Their offensive line's not good. It's pretty rough. And you go back to their first two games, like Denver was hanging around in that game with Bo Nix just playing like absolute crap. That's week 1. Week 2, they had to really make some great plays on offense just to hold off a Patriots team that got destroyed 4 days later. So, House, are you out on that Seattle team or are you in?
No, I'm all the way in on that Seattle team. But I think they're very lucky to have won both of those first 2 games. Those are both one-score games that were a lot closer to 50-50 games than you might think. And the other aspect of why I think the number is pushing down is because there has been over the last couple years a lot of evidence that the first time a backup starts, teams have a hard time adjusting. They have a positive record for all of the backup starts are on the plus side of against the spread. They're covering more often than not.
JJ, can I give you a number?
Surely.
Raheem's gonna love this. Raheem, you are sitting down. Good.
Yeah.
Under 7.5 wins for the Dolphins this season on FanDuel. Plus 198 for the Dolphins to go 7-10. They're already saying 2 is maybe week 9. He's going to be coming back from another concussion. I'm not sure the Dolphins were good to begin. Were they at 9-18 before Tua? Plus 198 for that. And then if you think they're going to go 6-11, that's plus 330.
Why are they giving you plus 198 though?
For the 7-10 or under. You don't like that?
I absolutely love it.
I think it's too much. I think the line is telling. I think it should be closer to 110, 120 with the injury. No?
See, this is why you're a Dolphins fan in denial, JJ.
I'm going to tell you why I love it. And I love it
because
if you look at the end of the Dolphins schedule, they close out on the road at Green Bay. They're going to be dogs. Then you play the Jets. They're favorites. Then you play at Houston. They're dogs. Then you got to play San Francisco. They're dogs. Then you got to play Cleveland. They're dogs. Then you got to play the Jets. That's the last, stretch of their season. So if they're losing right now with Tua out with the concussion, how do you recover at the end? So, Bill, I think that's a great bet.
Yeah, because remember, you guys did your AFC East thing, and you're talking about how Miami had to be basically 7-4,
yeah,
8-3 heading into that stretch.
That was one of House's best bets for them to miss the postseason.
Yeah, and it was only like plus
by
130.
the way, is probably a better bet at this stage. Which you got a good number at House.
I'm sure you got to lay juice now, though. I'd rather have this. I might do both.
Wait, JJ, can we parlay the Dolphins under 7.5 wins with you missing the last 2 shows of the season because we had to check you into a facility?
No.
Okay.
By the way, if the couch is behind you, isn't it? Am I still superimposed?
We do have the honorary JJ Chuck outline. Sadly, we don't get to watch a Dolphins playoff game with you this year because it ain't happening. They're not making the playoffs.
No, I wouldn't put my money on that. Hopefully I'll have a Yankees World Series by then. That would be nice. And
the New York Yankees
fun mocking the Jets. Yeah, that's right. Baseball. We actually talk about that occasionally.
I did because you have this new closer that came in and got 3 saves.
That's right,
and look,
Weaver,
you're in. Weaver, 31-year-old Weaver. You're excited about this?
I'm in. The American League stinks. That's why I'm in. I do want to hit on this game. We didn't touch on it at any point in the show. What's your take on Houston, Minnesota? You think Minnesota with that coaching staff sustainable?
House and I talked. We did $1 million pick on this with the Minnesota. I think up to 8.5. We like the under and Stroud to throw for 200+ yards because if you go through Stroud's game log, he's automatic 200+ yards if he actually plays all 4 quarters. But there's some really bad offensive line stats with the Texans against like the blitz and their quarterback getting hit these first 2 games. And that's basically all Minnesota does. And the other thing for me, Raheem, this looks like one of those where you're like, oh, I like Houston. That line seems low. I'm just going to take them. Sam Darnold. And it feels a little radish to me too. So I actually like Minnesota a little bit.
This game was really tough for me, just from a numbers perspective, because I think it opened 3.5. And I wanted to take Minnesota with the 3.5, and it quickly got bet down.
Yeah.
But, when I look at the matchup at like 1.5 or so, I think the value is actually on Houston. And, the Vikings got a really, really, really tough win against San Francisco last week. And I don't really like to buy a team coming off of such a big win last week. I just think you're buying at the peak of their value. And I think, the Texans, they're supposed to be a contender. I think this is where they make their mark. So I probably would lay the Texans at this price. But, I mean, with the 3.5 earlier this week, I would have took the Vikings. So it's all based on the number.
Yeah, part of why we liked pushing the Vikings up to 8.5. The Texans also had a tough game last week. That Bears defense is legit. They beat the hell out of CJ Stroud, and they locked down that offense in the second half. It's a huge deal to not have Joe Mixon, and if that Texans defense becomes one-dimensional against Flores and the blitz, I mean, I really I think it's a 50-50 kind of game.
Yeah, JJ, that was, I think, plus when we did on Thursday, it was plus 120. Stroud, 200 plus yards. Vikings to 8.5. The under up to like 51.5.
I like
and
that.
And then
a lot.
you could just throw in some stupid thing to get the fourth leg. But we got plus odds on that. And I just think that's a close game and a little bit of a slugfest and not a huge offense. They're saying Jefferson's going to play and that he's healthy. You see that guy limp off all the time. So that part makes me nervous too. But I think all of us are still in on Houston as a team. I just don't love the matchup for him. It's a little like Joshua yesterday when he got knocked down 17 times. It was just the wrong matchup. I think he's still down.
I have another rat for us. This is another game we didn't hit on. Tampa laying only 6. That stinks, Bill.
Yeah, I agree.
I
thought,
but I'm not betting Denver.
But nobody took in the dog section. Nobody took Denver because House came to me. I was this conciliary talking about which dog to pick because some had been already picked, and that was the one I thought. That was
Denver, actually my original pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
you audible.
I changed it.
That's never
I
good.
changed it an hour before the show.
Yeah, he changed it this morning, so I didn't have any of my notes for Denver, but I'd already written up my Giant treatment.
I watched that whole Pittsburgh-Denver game because I had Pittsburgh money last week. And Denver controlled the second half of that game. Pittsburgh did nothing offensively, and I thought Knicks had some inexperienced plays, but they were hanging around. And it looked like they might actually be able to force overtime. I think Denver's due for a half decent game, and Tampa coming off a win last week. Something doesn't add up. Why isn't that line 7.5, 8? That's why it would be fishy to me.
100%. We have some YouTube comments. Bill, somebody is wondering, did you parlay the Patriot under with the Kamala Harris presidency? Have you gotten involved with that?
So we never bet presidency again after 2016 when we had
you learned your lesson. I could see
Sal
that.
and I had the Hillary Clinton Pats to win the AFC East parlay, and the Pats had finished it. It was done in October, so all we needed was Hillary, and that didn't win. So that's it. I'm done with politics.
You're
betting
retired
after
from
that.
political betting.
I'm retired.
Okay.
Yeah. After that, we could have gotten Trump at 5-1 2 days before we're out. We nothing. So yeah, we're done.
I get it. We have another one suggesting, House, that we should get involved with a Skylar Thompson anytime touchdown. I'll pass for plus 1,000. No interest.
Plus 1,000?
Plus 1,000?
Yes. He's got to rush it in, obviously.
It's worth $10.
I'm out.
I mean, it's not crazy that he, shakes loose and just runs.
Is there an interception bet?
Yeah, what is that going to be? Minus 250?
Yeah, probably. Something like that.
No thanks. No thanks. So your best bets before we say goodbye. New Orleans, is that a best bet for you?
No, my best bet is Baltimore money line. Is my favorite bet. I just don't think they go 0-3, and I don't think Dallas is very good. And Sal is the only one who seems to still have faith in the Cowboys at this point. I just don't think they're a good football team.
Can I tempt you to throw in a Baltimore-Cincinnati money line parlay?
You can't, because these 6.5 to 8 point favorites have been an absolute bloodbath, and I just can't do it anymore. I just want to see a week where some of those
Cincinnati's going to start 0-3. Come on.
Probably not. House's Washington team is they're a whiff frisky with the way they move the ball, but their defense is horrible.
They're so bad on defense, though.
So
House,
bad.
they're going to give up 30+ in that game. Easy, right?
I think that's right, but the offensive metrics for Washington are very sneaky good.
They really are.
No punts last week. The only thing that's kept Washington, they'd get to the red zone. They just don't convert once they get to the red zone. But they moved the ball fine against both Tampa and against the Giants last week. It's just getting the ball across the goal line that's the issue.
House told me that Jaden Daniels is now his number one athlete, that if there was some sort of injury, House would give some part of his body to help the guy be able to come back. And who did he replace? Ovechkin?
No, Ovechkin needs no extra body parts. He's the Russian machine. I mean, they would sprout out of him.
Drago, he's indestructible.
He really is.
We have to say goodbye, Simmons. It's 12:40. We don't want to break any rules. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon, all right?
Great to see you guys. Love the show.
There you have it. House,
Great to see you, Bill.
Simmons, Raheem, JJ out. Good stuff as always. We're back next week. Be good, everybody.